Hey guys, welcome to the project part of Chapter 4, Section 4, SVG, or Scalable Vector Graphics. And for this project, I couldn't really find anything that we could implement into the Blue Web Developer directory, much like the Canvas section. So I just threw together these shapes because I don't want to get into anything too advanced. So this is what I came up with, and it's not pretty, but it's not meant to be pretty. We're just trying to learn how to do this, how to use SVG and create shapes. And we're going to do a little bit of animation, just a couple shapes we're going to animate. So what we can do now is just open a new file and start from scratch. Close this out. Alright, and I'm just going to paste in just the doc type and the structure. I made the background black, the body background black, just for something different. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save it just in a file, in a folder on my desktop, and I'll just call it SPG, and I'll save it as index.html. Okay, so if we open that, where is it? Alright, so this is what we have, a blank black canvas. Okay, so if we look at our finished, well, this is the non-animated finished page. We have a red square or rectangle, a blue circle, a red line, and then we have this green polygon with certain angles and points. I'm not going to get into the geometrics. It's not really my thing, but I'll try to explain as we go along. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create that red square. It's actually a rectangle. It's called a rectangle. And what we want to do, like in the slideshow, we have these SVG tags, and we're going to be putting XML. This is going to be XML code in between these SVG tags. So what we got to do here is declare the XML NS, and then we want HTTP w3.org, and we want 2000 and SVG. Okay, that should do it. And then let's close up those SVG tags. Okay, so now everything in here is going to be XML type of code. Okay, so for the rectangle, we want to do a rect, and we're going to give this an ID of red rect, and we want the X attribute, which is where it is on the X axis, so where it is horizontally, and we're going to start it at 20 pixels. And then we have the Y, which we're going to do 10. So it'll be 20 pixels over, 10 pixels down. Actually, one other thing I want to do is give this SVG area a height of 100. Alright, so now what we want to do is the width. And for the width, I'm going to say 100. And then for the height, we'll also say 100. And finally, we want the fill. We want to fill it with red. Okay. Alright, so that should give us our rectangle. Let's save that and reload. So we have our red rectangle, and it's 20 pixels over and 10 pixels down. You'll see if, say, we put 420, we'll save it, and it will move it 420 pixels to the right. Let's keep it at 20. Alright, so that's the red rectangle. Next we have this blue circle. Circle's a little different. We still want to do the same the SVG tags. And I'm going to change the height to 130. Alright, now we want to use the circle tag, and we're going to give it an ID of circle 1, and we want the CX is going to be 70, okay, and CY 70. And this CX, CY attributes, it's just the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, and next we have, one second here. Next we're going to have the radius, which will be the width of the circle, and this is going to be 50. And we want to fill it with blue. And I think that should be it. Save. Okay, so there's our blue circle. Next we have the line. I'm not going to go through all the shapes. There are a few others. There's an ellipse. There's a couple others too. I'm not going to go into those. I want to copy these SVG tags. And this one, I'm going to set this height to 100. And so we're going to do a line. X1 is going to be 0. This is just where the line starts and ends, and the angle. So Y1, I'm going to say 0 on that. X2 equals 200. And Y2 is 60. And that should do it. I want to add a style to this. And I want to do stroke red. And we'll do a stroke width of 2. And let's see what that does. Save it. Alright, so there's our line. Starts at 0 and it's 200 pixels long, 60 degrees, I believe. Like I said, I'm not an expert on coordinates and that kind of stuff. But I mean, it looks pretty simple. It's just 200 pixels wide. I think it's at a 60-degree angle. Let's see what we do. If we change this to 20, yeah. So it just changes the angle. Alright, so that's the line. Now we have this polygon kind of shape. So again, and we're going to keep the height at 100, and we're going to do polygon. And we want to use this points attribute. And for the points, we're going to do 20, 10, 30, 20, 10, no, not 30, 300, I'm sorry. 320, 170. Now you can mess around with these and add your own values if you want. Tweak the shape a little bit. And fill it with green. Save. And there's our shape. So that's how we do the shapes. I'm going to show you a little bit of animation. I'm not going to go crazy because, I mean, you know, we're getting into different languages now, XML, and I'm just trying to show you the basics of HTML5 type stuff. So let's do some animation with this red square. Alright, so what we're going to do is animate this red square. We're going to make it just slide to the right. Okay, so we want to open an animate tag and close it down here, just the one tag. Now it takes a bunch of parameters or attributes, whatever you want to call them. And the first one is we're going to do the attribute name. And what this is this is what is going to iterate kind of and change. We could do the width, which would just reiterate the width and change it, or the height, but we're going to do the x-axis. We're going to take the x-axis, it's on 20, and we're going to, each time it iterates, it's going to just slide, it's going to keep increasing, the x will increase. It's kind of hard to explain, but let me show you. So we have the attribute name is going to be x, and the next thing we want to do is this xlink href, and what this does is we just want to grab the ID. The ID that we're using here is this red rect, so we just want to put that there. Alright, and then I like to have it in a line like this. You know, you can have it all bunched together, but there's quite a few attributes when you're using the animate, so I like to have it just nice and neat so it's easy to read. You don't have to do it, structure it like this. Now we're going to add the begin attribute, and that is where we want it to start, and we're going to start at 0, S. And then we have the duration. I'm going to say 5S, and S is seconds. So the duration of the animation will be 5 seconds. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is from. So where do we want it to start? 30. I'm going to say 30 pixels in, and we want to go to 500. So it'll slide from 30 to 500. And what else do we need? I think we can do this. Yeah, it looks like we have enough. Alright, so let's save and see what happens. So it slides over, and it just goes back. We can change that. You see what happened is it started at 30 and it went all the way to fit 500 pixels. Now we can change that behavior of it just stopping and returning. What we can do is we can add this fill attribute, and we can freeze it. So if you save that and reload, so now it freezes where it's at. And we also have another option of repeating it. We can do repeat count, and then we could specify a certain number here if we wanted to repeat it 5 times or whatever, but what I want to do is indefinite. Save that. See, so now it's going to repeat. It's going to keep repeating. For now, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to put it back to freeze because it's going to annoy me while I'm typing. Alright, so the next thing, we're going to do the same thing with the circle. Alright, so we can grab this, copy it, paste it in. Now we need to change the ID here to circle 1. Alright, and everything looks good. And let's try it out. Save. Oh, I'm sorry. The circle doesn't have an X. No, that doesn't matter. What's going on here? What's wrong? Attribute is X. CX. Let's see what that would do. There we go. We just had to change the attribute to this CX. So I actually want to add another rectangle under this red one. I'm going to copy the exact same thing, and I just want to show you something. Let's change the ID to redrect2 in both places. Save it. So now we have an identical rectangle, but what I want to do is change the attribute that's being reiterated. Okay, I want to change it from X to width. So now if I save it, when I reload the animation, the width is what is going to change, not the x-axis. And you see what it's doing. It's just increasing the width. You can use anything here. You could use height. Now that we only have 100 pixels room here, so you probably won't. Yeah, you're not going to see the what it would do if this stuff wasn't here. So, but yeah, I mean, you can use anything, any attribute that is available. And I'm going to show you an example now with the circle. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the color. Alright, so as the circle, we're going to keep this animation too, but as the circle moves, we're going to change its color. So we want to open a new animate tag, and you can do multiple animations. You can do as many as you want. Animate. So actually, it's not going to be animate, it's going to be animate color. So animate color, and then the attribute name is going to be fill, because that's what makes the color. That's how you choose the color, is with the fill attribute. And the same thing, we're going to begin at 0 seconds. And no, actually, yeah, we're going to begin at 0 seconds, and the duration will be 5 seconds. And now we got to do the values we want to use, which is the colors that we want to use. So we'll say blue, orange, and these are separated with a semicolon. Yellow. You could use hexadecimal values as well. Red. How about indigo, violet, and that looks good. Now we can specify if we want it to fill or freeze. I'm going to have this go indefinite. So like I showed you before, we're going to do repeat count equals. I can't type and talk at the same time. Alright, so save that, reload, and nothing. Alright, something's wrong with the color animation. Let me just double check. Oh, I didn't grab the ID. That should do it. Save. Alright, so now you can see the color is changing. And we don't have it on freeze, we have the color indefinite, so it's going to keep changing. So you can see you can do some pretty neat stuff, and obviously this application is useless, but you know, it's a good training exercise just to get the basics down of SVG. You know, I didn't want to go into a big project because it's just not really what this series is about. I just wanted to teach you the basics of SVG and animation. So that's it for this section, and I'll see you in chapter 5.